actually have to wait a minute or I'll be all off.
Can you tap dance or anything?
I'm not talented that way.
Oh,
But
yeah?
I'm Richard Esplin. I'm product manager for Alfresco. I work with the content repository. This lightning talk is a bit more philosophical maybe than some of the others. So gather around, children. I'm going to tell a story. The legend says that the king of Siam, one of the symbols of his throne was the sacred white elephant. And when he became displeased with one of his nobles, maybe a rival to the throne or annoying for some reason, he would grant the noble a gift of a white elephant. Being sacred, it was dishonorable for the noble to reject the gift. And equally, if the noble didn't take care of the gift adequately, then it would bring great shame on his family. The maintenance of the white elephant would quickly impoverish the rival to the throne, and the recipient of the gift would die in humble circumstances. Now, drawing the analogy, as an open source company, it is a privilege to receive your contributions. And it is dishonorable for an open source company to not adequately value those contributions. That said, the contributions aren't free. They come with a cost, and that maintenance cost can be a challenge. The purpose of this talk is to give you some insights into that and explain how it changes the perspective we have as an engineering team on some of the contributions you give us. The first thing to recognize is that we have a business model around supporting our software. And as soon as we've accepted money for that, we have certain commitments around those contributions. It makes us rather conservative. Because that commitment, our product's been around some of the code's been around 15 years, that commitment can go on quite a while. So leads us to look at some of the areas where those contributions require additional vetting and some of the challenges that come. First area is the effort of identifying which of the many suggestions we get are worth us investigating. So that triage process, we do it weekly. It takes a significant amount of time. One of the challenges isn't necessarily the quality of the contribution, it's making internal decisions about what we want to do with it. That review process requires us to say, what is our vision, what is our roadmap, how's the market going to change, and that's a challenge that can take a lot of time to build that consensus and get the proper sign-offs. Additionally, there's an opportunity cost. We have to look at each contribution and say, is this the most valuable place for us to spend our time? Does it generate the most value for our stakeholders, our investors, our customers, and the open source community? And some things that are really important for certain people aren't necessarily the most important for the broader community. Finally, we go to the engineering architect and need to figure out how does this fit into his or her vision for the component they own. That can take a lot of research. That's not something, sometimes people have ideas that are very different from what we expected, and we don't have an immediate response. Finally, we have to look and say, is it tested? Is it localized? Is it formatted properly? Is it in a patch that we can easily accept? Is it a pull request? Has the license agreement been signed off on? That polish, if it's not been provided, we have to get up to snuff. And then we have to document it. Presumably, there's going to be a change of documentation, or it's probably not worth doing at all. It's going to have an effect on the software. And we don't only have to document the new behavior, we have to figure out what needs to be changed from the old documentation. And then we have to communicate about it both internally and externally. How's it going to impact upgrades? How's it going to impact security, customizations and add-ons, and how to make sure everybody's aware of those impacts. And then we have to support and maintain it. We have to sign up to supporting and explaining that code, answering questions about that code, as if it was our original code, for however long we have that code in place. Now, leads to an honest question. Richard, what's your point? Simply to explain the difference in perspective we have as an engineering team versus a lot of the contributions we receive. And when you look at that difference, it can facilitate the conversation as we look for common ground. We can disagree in sincere ways and still be polite with each other. It's not that we hate you, that we don't do with your contribution exactly what you want when you want it. We're not bad people, and we recognize that when you're frustrated, it's because you care about this for your use case, even if we don't get it in on time. We recognize as an engineering team we need to lower the cost of accepting contributions. That's been an initiative. We've been working on it for a long time, years, and we're getting better. We realize we're going to talk more about how we can do that. In fact, at the end of today, at 5 o'clock, we're going to have a session in this room with some of our leaders of engineering and some members of the Order of the Bee. And we're going to talk about how that contribution process can go better. And so this provides context for that conversation so that you understand a bit about our perspective, a bit more perhaps than before. Finally, there's a certain amount of empathy we're asking for. It's a hard job. It takes a lot of decision making. It takes time to make those decisions. But even if we don't get everything that we want to, we're delivering valuable stuff. And I think sometimes we focus too much on the negative and don't realize all the good stuff we're producing. So please continue the conversation at community.alfresco.com.